What's going on, y'all? So today we're just going to be taking a little bit of this black acrylic paint, and we're going to be doing a Q&A session while I'm basically covering everything with all this black. It's basically to, in a nutshell, do black canvases, have them preset, pre-made for another time for me to paint. Today, after that, though, and I'm going to be going over, and I think around 6 p.m. today, I'll be going over and we'll be painting. That's when we're going to start painting itself. And until then, it's going to be a Q&A session until I finish these two canvases right here. I've got 16 by 20 and then 11 by 14. So as people come in, that's when I'm going to start talking a little bit more. I am going to be focusing a little bit more on this, but as I see comments start popping up in the chat box, I'm going to start responding. So go ahead and ask questions. I'm going to actually fill around with the banners right here, saying basically Q&A day, ask questions. I see that there's someone already on the broadcast. Welcome, welcome. As I said before, I'm just going to be setting up this banner real quick. There we go. Hey, man. By the way, I have not forgotten about your painting. That's actually next on the drawing board, and I'll start that on this one. I'll have to dig up in our chat that little picture, or actually, I'll have to dig up in our, goodness, what is it called? I think it was the comment section that you had for it. I took a snapshot of the screen initially, so I'm still going to paint that mountain scene from Colorado from your trip. So don't think I've forgotten about you. I have not. And that's a cool painting. Love the colors. I could resend it. Yeah, that'd be awesome, Colby. Just go ahead and send it for me. And once I finish it, I'll send it your way, man. All right. Allison says, I wonder if I can actually get that up here on the broadcast. Here we go. Yeah. Sweet. Cool. I can actually set it up to where y'all see the comments that I'm looking at one at a time. I'm slowly but surely figuring this StreamYard thing out. I'm going to be having more artists on here as well. And if y'all are artists, feel free to comment in the section below. I would like to get a couple of y'all on as guests, just for fun, just as viewers, just to see what y'all's thoughts are on colors or on styles and stuff. And, just make it open and more relaxed. Just that's the kind of environment I like and the kind of things that I would enjoy doing personally. Think of it like an interactive Bob Ross, except you can actually physically speak to Bob Ross. You can comment down below. You can say what you'd like to see. That's kind of the whole dream of and what I'm trying to establish on this show. And by the way, y'all, Colby Smith, he actually took a trip to Colorado, and he actually started live streaming on this, like, I think it was a conference of some sort. But he started live streaming, and he started showing off the mountains, and I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna paint that. Gotta let him know to take a picture of that. He took a picture, and like when he actually stood still with the picture, I was like, wow, I gotta paint it. There's sometimes where I just get real inspired by the photos or by what I see, and I'll just have to paint them. Very few times will I actually paint from life, but those are some of the times. And I'm currently working on a project for a dude who caught a pompano. That's gonna be, actually, that might be what I'm gonna actually work on at 6 p.m. is when I'm gonna start working on it. Leah Trinidad. Hey, if y'all are from Trinidad, welcome from Trinidad. I'm all the way over the U.S. in Florida. We've got nothing but rain and sunshine here, and lots of ocean waves. I don't know why I didn't buy this before. This is awesome. Kobe Smith sent a photo. Awesome. Hey, thanks, Kobe. I got your photo. I'll pop it up right here in the comments. Hey, that is exactly the photo. Perfect. Yes. I wonder if I can actually get this to. Yeah, eventually I'll be able to get it downloaded and show y'all exactly what it is. Or maybe I'll just take y'all off the stand here shortly and show y'all the photo. It looks really nice. I'm not going to bring over the laptop. That thing weighs like 30 pounds. Good afternoon, Jared. Good afternoon, Tracy. All right, hold up. I brought out my 2 black canvases now to look for my other tools to paint to. Yes. Or to paint to. Right now I'm just preparing. So that's exactly what's going on right now. So if y'all want to, y'all are more than welcome. Just paint along with me, or just listen, ask comments, or ask questions in the comment section. I'll get to them. This is exactly what the first hour is for while I'm preparing different canvases. What black canvases are good for is they make, oh, hold up. Hello, everyone. Hey, Michelle. Welcome to the broadcast. Oh, what black canvases are good for is bringing out the darkness, bringing out those shadows, and then really showing contrast. And what contrast is the difference between shadows and lights, or shadows and highlights, if you will. It's really, really useful, especially on night scenes. Like, I'll give an example. This painting was not a black canvas. This was a strictly white one. But, yeah, I wonder if I have one in reach. Nope. The other one's on the other side of the studio. I'm not getting up. But the other one was like a very blue night scene. And it has all sorts of blues and reds. I tried to keep the yellows to a minimum because the yellows kind of take away from the almost monochromatic type feel. And that's what I'm trying to get captured in this particular type of painting. This one was a special case. This was a strictly palette knife painting, and I'm actually very happy with how it turned out. I know I've shown y'all before different palette knife paintings. I've only gotten maybe 2 of them that were strictly palette knives, and this is one of them. The first one was kind of an it was a mountain scene, not unlike the one that Colby just sent me, which, thank you, by the way, Colby. I appreciate that a whole bunch. But it was also very blue. I completely made it up. So it didn't look as realistic. Now this one was a very special scene. I kind of had I kind of envisioned like what would an angelic visitation be, and I didn't really think about that when I was first painting it. And then I was like, oh, maybe there's a light source right here, and it's just going downwards, but it doesn't strike everywhere, and it starts fading. But the water's always going to catch it because it kind of glows and sheens through a little bit easier than these rocks and these trees and cliffs and bushes. So whenever you're gelling, or not gelling these up, but whenever you're priming these canvases, you got to be careful how thick you have it, because whenever you're priming these guys, you want it to be smooth when you put the oil paint on. So cool, thank you. Yeah, whenever you're priming them, just be cognizant of that, because you don't want it to be too grainy, because you want the oils to leave the textures and not the acrylics. Now, sometimes it can be useful if you're doing it on purpose. Like, we'll say you want a mountain to really, really jut out, and you don't have like the mousse gel that makes the oil paint just fluff up. Well, what you could do in that case is leave real thick spots on purpose where you want like a mountainy area or a really, really textured tree or brush area, or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish in this case. And you got to work quick with acrylics too, because it dries hecka fast. What I'm using right now is a gesso brush. It's real stiff and it's a synthetic. So what good comes out of this is whenever you're painting with this, you can just keep layering it on thick, and it's about a 2-inch brush. And it's meant specifically for just getting like undercoats on there real fast, like gessos or acrylics. And then you always want to go and wash it off and dry it off, because if acrylics dries in your brush, you're not getting it back. And it's going to take a hot minute for it to, either for you to use water to clear it out, because once it's dry, it's stuck that way. Unless you just let it soak for days, and you don't want to do that. It takes too much time. And at that point, you may or may not want to go buy a new brush. So I recommend working fast with these and constantly applying water, or washing it off with water and then drying it off with like a paper towel or something. Shop towels are the best because they absorb the most. So I recommend those if you're going to use a gesso brush to prime. And don't use too much water in it either. If you let, like, I'll give an example of using water. Here we go. Hold up. I love the colors in that painting. Very beautiful. Here, let me put up the comments. I need to get better at that. Here. Still getting used to it. And I completely agree. I kind of went with another monochromatic scale on this one. I was trying to keep it towards the pinks and purples, so blue and reds, except more towards the red side. As you notice, most of this is kind of pink and purple towards the red side. I almost went and tapped in there. I don't know why. That would have been bad. So I was actually talking to a few other people that I know. One of them is a former art teacher of mine. She's a master over in Texas, near the Austin area. And she's an impressionistic artist. And then I was speaking to like Mark Redner and Lucas Levine. They're all artists. I was like, hey, y'all should totally jump on the broadcast. They're friends of mine, but I don't really know Mark too well, but after a recent encounter that we both went through, we just kind of had a reason to talk. So I asked him if he would like to come on. So one of these days, he actually does want to come on. So we'll see when we can get that arranged. Give me 1 second. Where can I get some good paintbrushes? Do you live in the U.S.? If you live in the U.S., you can go to a Hobby Lobby. If you live in Canada or outside of the States, I could not tell you. Online is always a good option. Like, I recommend Winsor and Newton brushes if you're trying to take it semi-seriously. Like, have some decent brushes that'll last you a while, but will be achieving the textures that you want. It just depends on what kind of painting do you do. Like, for instance, do you do acrylics? Do you do, or what do you want to do? So, have you ever painted before? Let me wait a second on that one, because that's important. If you've never painted before, I'd like to ask you some questions beforehand, because that could change what kind of paints you'd like to use, how you'd like to, like what textures you'd like to achieve, if any at all, and what colors you would like to see. Those are all important, and how patient you are. Michael's in Canada, or Michelle. Michelle is in Canada. Okay, so yeah, those areas. You can either do that or Amazon. I highly recommend, really taking your time, figuring out what kind of paint suits you. So maybe get some samples, and I recommend like using the red, yellow, blue combination, because from those three colors, red, yellow, blue, and white. You don't really need black, but red, yellow, blue, and white. Using those ones, you can create every color. You don't really need to worry about black, just because I've never painted a picture before. Okay. Well, what kinds of textures would you like to achieve? What kinds of colors do you want to see? What kind of effects? Like, are you patient with painting and would be willing to spend a lot of time on it? Or do you just want to paint it really fast and let it dry really fast? Because if you want fast paintings, you want to go with either watercolor or acrylics. If you don't mind spending a little bit more time working on paintings, you can go with oils. Now, I work fast for an oil, well, semi-fast for an oil painter. So you can achieve just about anything using oil. That's why I like it. But if you're trying to work in a rush, like maybe 10, 15 minutes, or even half an hour, and you just want it to dry so you can just give it to someone, you can use acrylics. Now, watercolors I'm not as familiar with, but I do know that it's a little bit harder to control unless you're using very specific tools, which I do not have. Okay, give me 1 second. I try not to use black in my paintings either, unless I'm adding details. Yes. Even when I add details, I try to stay away from black, like specifically permanent black paint, unless it's like the undercoating, which is what I'm doing right now. The undercoating is hugely important. Now, Tracy, I don't know. Let's see. What would you like to see on your canvases? Okay, 1 second. There's another one. Here we go. I can control this from my phone. That's awesome. Huh. What is the difference between acrylic painting and oil painting? So acrylic painting is using a water-based paint. When you use water-based paints, it means you can take a little bit of water and mix it in with the paint, and it spreads further. Now, it does dilute the paint, which means you can see a little bit behind whatever paint is on there. Here, I'll give an example. This one's almost dry, so I'm gonna have to get another canvas to do it. Here we go. You're within reach. So I'm gonna show you right now. So this is an oil painting, and oil paintings take a very long time to dry, up to even 2 weeks, depending on how thick you paint it. You have more control with oil paintings, and you can, goodness, where am I going to put this? You're going here. You have a lot more control on your oil paintings. And I'll give an example right here. So this is acrylics, what I'm messing with right now. It's what I'm using as like an undercoat. Let's see. I would like my paintings to stand out. Yes, a lot of us would like that too. It just depends on what style you have. Standing out. So for standing out, I recommend you painting like you. Whatever you want to paint, the way you see fit, that's how your paintings stand out. Don't try to mimic other artists unless you're just trying to learn basic techniques. Like, absolutely, use all the same techniques, brush strokes and stuff, but by techniques, I mean, or by painting like you, I mean like paint what you want to see. Waterfalls, yes, those are fun. I love waterfalls. I've got a few of those in my gallery still to this day. Those ones haven't sold yet. Actually, no, I did sell one of them, and that was pretty quickly, surprisingly. Let's see here. So this is an acrylic paint right here, yeah? So my brush has, I'm going to put some water in it, and water-based paintings, or sorry, watercolor and acrylics are water-based. And that means you can use water with them. Oil paintings are based off of oil. They dry a lot slower. Water paintings and water paintings and acrylic paintings. Here, I'm gonna get a little bit of water on this brush real quick to show y'all how water works with it. So it's real thick right here, yeah? So what water does with water-based paintings is it spreads it further, but it also dilutes, because you can see it's starting to get a little bit of transparency right here, yeah? So for oil paintings, you can't spread it near as far because it's based off of an oil. It's got oil in the mix. Unless you put extra oil in there, it's gonna have a lot shorter strokes, but it's gonna be easier for you to work with because you can work with the oils and mixing them on the canvas as opposed to acrylics. Acrylics and watercolors, you're going to want to typically mix them on your palette. Hold up. Good at painting walls and furniture. Water-based paint, yes. They're very good at those. Acrylic paintings dry faster. Yes, they do. So you tend to work on it faster. Yes, this is very true. The transparency. So this is just another example of transparency. When you add water to it, it just dilutes it completely, or dilutes it a lot. And the more you spread the paint with the water, the more it just further dilutes and eventually becomes like you're painting just white and gray almost. Now, I honestly don't appreciate having to work real fast on things. So I actually, believe it or not, I started with acrylics when I first got back into painting. The first time I ever started painting was oils, and I only did maybe 2. And then shortly after, I think it was a year after, I had another art teacher, and we did a lot of watercolor paintings, and it was just way too hard for me to control. You'd have a lot of times where the water is just real thick on there, and I just didn't know how to control it, and it would just keep getting taken over by gravity. Now, it can look very nice that way. So if that's the kind of effects you want, like you can get all sorts of layering, like by using less and less water, by putting it on and rapidly putting it over and over and over. That's how watercolor works, to my understanding. If you keep it in thin amounts of water, and then work light to dark, it's the opposite of oil. you have to work lighter to darker. It's like using a pencil almost. So you're going to put it on real thin here and then start with your lightest colors, and then you'll gradually go darker and darker and darker, and just work over until you get that darkest point. Just think of it like paint, but with a pencil. There are tools that can make this a lot easier, like hard pressing tools or like sponge tools and stuff. And I'm not super proficient in it, but that is the extent of my knowledge for water-based. Now that I've gotten that shown, I'm gonna take this down real quick. And I'm gonna put this very nice oil painting back up here, just so y'all have something to look at. There. So one difference between acrylics and oils that I found is whenever you're painting with acrylics, it dries a lot faster, yes, but there's a texture difference too. You can't achieve as thick of a texture. So if you're trying to paint it really flat, acrylics is really good for that. If you want to get some texture on acrylics, it's doable. You just have to layer it on thickly and use like a lot less water than you've already got. And if you want it to be real thick and you don't mind putting in a little extra time, oils, that's the way to go. So if you're trying to do a painting where you want it to look really matte, and by matte I mean like flat and not very shiny, acrylics paint is typically the way to go. The dark crystal is back. Yes. Hey, thanks for joining, Ren. Oh, hold up. Got another comment too. Oh, okay, here we go. Easels, do you have a preference? I like working on slant. So I've always been taught, even from the modern master, or even from like people who have studied ancient masters, to have my paintings at an upright. So I like to keep it at a 90-degree angle. So this is the easel that I like to work with, because it can be tilted forward, it can go straight, it can go even as far as like 45 degrees backwards. And the reason I like to keep it upright is because I like to paint on it and have an idea of where it's going to be whenever I paint on a wall. And I actually don't have both of my lights turned on, so I'm actually going to take care of that real quick. Give me 1 second. I might knock you out a little bit. There we go. So I like to paint it straight up, because when you paint, typically you're going to want it to be like there's a wall, or like it's going to be hung on a wall. Like if you're going into a nice gallery, you want it to look like it's got this similar lighting as hanging on the wall. And typically the galleries will have it either directly above for your lighting, or 43 to 45 degrees, like shining downwards on it from a upward angle. So I like to prepare for galleries or hanging it up at nice places, as opposed to, oh, and also whenever you've got it straight up, you can, and you've got your 45-degree lighting, it prevents the light from glaring. That's another thing. I still think this is funny. The dark crystals is back. he actually made a comment the other night when I sent him this picture before I posted it on Facebook that what the I don't speak Spanish yet anymore. He made a comment about the dark that this looked like the Dark Crystal, and I was like, "What's the Dark Crystal? Isn't that an older movie? I've never seen it." He's like, "Yeah, it was an '80s movie." Like, awesome. Oh goodness, that's funny. So, what are y'all's preferences on easels? I know that Allison likes to stretch or likes to have hers on a slant. I like to have mine straight up, just because of preparation for galleries and studios. And if people are hanging out on the walls, it won't be all sorts of shiny and glary whenever it's finished. But what do y'all think? And while y'all are thinking about those questions, I just want to explain another thing. I initially didn't start off painting straight up like this until I did some research on it. I initially would paint either in my lap or on a table or even on a slant until I got an easel like this one, because I didn't know any better. I didn't know to think about ahead of time, where my light source is going to be, what the glare is going to be like. That glare is super important. You don't want it to have any glare whenever you hang it up. When you hang it up, you want it to have a very nice, less shiny look. Except, of course, whenever you put on your varnish. And the varnish, what that does is it really protects the painting itself. Okay, I never thought of it that way, mind you. I do a lot of portraits. Well, acrylics actually gives you a little bit of wiggle room with that too. Oils is very shiny paint, so you don't have to worry about that as much. So if you're painting with acrylics or even watercolor, you're never going to have that issue. And on top of that, you're probably not going to want to use it like this. You might be working on a table, unless you're using really, really moderate amounts of water. And I've seen it done. Virginia Vaughn, who I was just talking to y'all about, she actually paints straight up and down like this. Just like I'm painting right. Well, not really like I'm painting right now, but how I was painting on the normal. And another thing, whenever you're painting or covering your canvases, you even want to do the sides, the edges. Because if you're trying to sell your work, it looks professional. And another thing you could do, if you wanted, is instead of just painting it strictly black on the sides or strictly whatever color, like one single color to prevent it looking just solid white, is you could actually take the picture. Oh, hold up. Oh, my internet crashed. Would y'all mind sharing out the broadcast? I actually can't share it out myself because my laptop is unable to connect to the internet for whatever reason. I completely forgot what I was saying because someone actually just made a phone call. Tried to contact me earlier. From Laredo, Texas. It's like I don't know anybody in Laredo, to my knowledge. Unless that's my cousin. I don't think it's my cousin. Pretty sure she's over in a different spot. Right. I use a stick sometimes while I paint to prevent getting my hands touching the project. Do you use a stick too? No, actually, I don't. It's a very good idea, and I've considered getting one, but I just keep forgetting whenever I go to the store. This is something that I'm honestly contemplating doing because, you know, it's super useful. It stabilizes your hand. There's another tip for y'all who are just beginning in painting. You can use sticks. I did used to when I first got my first easel back when I was 16 or 7. I think I was 15 or 16 actually. When I was first painting, when I got my first easel, I had a stick that was attached. It was a $300 easel. It was it had a drawer and you could fold it up into itself, almost like a suitcase. And it could hold paints, brushes. It even had an area where you could just carry, or sorry, it had an area where you could have a palette. It was really useful. I kind of wish I still had that, but I gave it away because I didn't paint much back then. I gave it to a friend of mine, or a friend of his. I gave it to my friend's mother because I knew she loved painting, and I just had no idea what I had, and I had no idea that I was going to get back into painting either. And that was one of those that could stand straight up, but most of the time it was slanted. And it had, I think it was a tripod too. That was a good question, or a good piece of advice right there. Use sticks if you want to really stabilize. And the way they work is you hold it against the edge of your easels, and then maybe it'll go across and come up and down. Some of them have attachments to the sides. And as I don't know if y'all can see, but right here, there's a little slant, a little piece where it attaches to the easel right here. And you can attach a little stick attachment, and it'll go up and down. And it won't touch the canvas either. It'll go on both sides, and it'll be slanted, and you can hold it and stabilize your hand if you want to go really detailed. It's very useful. I don't use those actually. I kind of just rest my hand against either the easel itself, the canvas, or sometimes just not at all. And I'm not worried about messing up or, um, making it look a little different than I was intending, because nature scenes are what I do most of the time. I actually need some more paint. Oh yeah. And with nature, nothing looks perfect. As a matter of fact, imperfections are the best looking paintings. When you have imperfect paintings, they look best. And here's why. When you're trying to have a perfect painting, a lot of times it will look stiff. But when you have an excellent painting that you're not worried about messing up, excellent, keyword. When you have an excellent painting, it's when you're relaxed and letting everything flow out. And when you're putting all you have into it. Who's my favorite artist? I'd have to say one of my favorite, well, I've got a few of those. I've got three of them that really inspired me a lot and actually guided me, and I connected to them. Two of them I knew in person, one I've never met. He died before I could meet him. Otherwise, I would have met him. We'll start with number 3 and work up. My third favorite is Bob Ross. Everybody on here should probably know who he is. The painter of Happy Little Trees and stuff. I did a lot of research into him, and I caught a lot of, I did a lot of research into him because a couple coworkers of mine said that my before the military picture looked like Bob Ross. And I was like, who is Bob Ross? They're like, you don't know who he is? I'm like, who's that? And I decided to one day look him up. They're like, oh yeah, he's they were telling me, oh yeah, he's an artist. he sounds like he's on something all the time. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't want to be watching someone that sounds like he's on something, but I'll go see him if he's a painter. I came on and looked at him on YouTube, and sure enough, this dude was painting lightning fast, and he did have an afro that was obnoxiously huge. It turned out that he did not like his afro. I thought that was funny, but it was his trademark, so he wasn't allowed to get rid of it. But he would always, always, always have a blast while painting, and he would paint really fast. And that was like, I want to do that. I don't want to have to worry about messing up. So I stopped worrying about getting everything perfect. And then there's my second favorite artist. He's got some incredible paintings. He's a world-renowned, yes. I used to watch him all the time too. Yes, he is awesome. The second one, my second favorite artist, is Dalhart Winberg. He's a Texan artist in the Georgetown area, so Central Texas. If you go down to Austin, he's about 45 minutes north of Austin, and he owns his own gallery, and it's pretty big. His paintings used to look like he's changed his style a little bit over the last couple of years, but his paintings look like photographs. They are incredible. He's a world-renowned master, and like several artists, I didn't realize he had this issue until recently, but like several artists, he didn't know how to price his work. So he would be painting these masterpieces that he sold some paintings for like 60, 70 grand a piece. So he's that good. But a lot of his paintings, he didn't know how to price, like his smaller ones, until recently when he met up with a gallery owner who's also an artist, and a very good one at that. And he's painting paintings and selling for like 500 pieces. Like, that's, for the quality of work and time you're putting in there, you should be selling them for minimum of like 5 grand. Like paintings this size, this is 11 by 14. It's a very small one, but it has a lot of detail. And he was spending probably more time than I would even. And they were just absolutely incredible. And he would be painting like photographic images almost. And he would be making them up too. It would look real, and he'd be making it up. I didn't know that about him until recently, like right after Hurricane Michael struck. I don't know if y'all remember that one. That one was a big one, at least in Florida. Well, he's one of my favorites because of his quality and mastery in the painting. He has such a variety and skill. It's ridiculous. Like, he can do any of this type. This is a palette knife painting. He can do palette knife paintings. He can do brush paintings that look like photographs. And he can paint glass, which is, I've never seen glass painted like he did. And he even shows like the reflection of him looking at it. I thought that was super awesome. That's what first caught my attention about him when I was, I think it was a 9th grade in high school. I don't know. I was young. And I know some of y'all are thinking, you're still young. Shh. I know. I was younger. Okay, this guy's done. And then my favorite artist, who almost paints like Monet, her name is Virginia Vaughn. She's actually my high school art teacher, my former high school art teacher, and she is still around. She's a very, very talented artist. She uses vibrant colors. That's my dream. I only did one painting so far, realism, but I want. Okay, goodness. but that's what I want to accomplish. Painting with realism is very fun. It's whenever you get it down, and I've done it a few times, but not often. It looks incredible, and it takes a lot of time. That's the one thing you got to be ready for, is just the time. That it's almost like mechanics or technicians work. If you're trying for realism, I don't personally go for realism a whole lot because I like painting whatever's in my head, but I'll do it as best as I can. It is a good challenge. Allison says it is a good challenge. Yes. All right, let's see if my browser's back up. But Virginia Vaughn, she's hands down, outside of myself and those other two that I've mentioned, Dalhart and Bob Ross, Dalhart Wimberg and Bob Ross, Virginia is my favorite, hands down. Her colors are very vibrant. She does the perfect mix of like mid-tones and really vibrant colors. I just love them. Her color choice is actually one that inspires me personally. This was not inspired by me or by anybody in particular. This is something I did right after the stream last time. The last stream I had, I think that was Friday. Today's Wednesday, right? So maybe it was Monday. No, it was Friday. Yes, so I just made this one up. I was trying to do a palette knife painting. It was somewhat inspired by Dalhart Wimberg because I saw one of his paintings that was a strictly palette knife painting, and I thought it was a picture, like a photograph. So I was like, you know what? I love that texture that he has on there. And when you look closely, you can see the texture. And when you are farther away, it looks like a photograph. But you can tell it's a painting because of the atmospheric look. Primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Mm-hmm. Yes. But this one, I didn't actually use yellow, except maybe right here. I think I actually painted over that and scratched it out. So I think I actually just used red, blue, and white on this one. But he does use red, yellow, and blue. Dalhart does. Virginia uses red, yellow, and blue most of the time. Sometimes she'll do like phthalo green and in the night scenes. But the majority of the time she just uses red, yellow, and blue. I use primary colors about 95% of the time. It just helps you kind of loosen up and figure out what colors mix to what. Gives you a little bit better of an idea of how to mix your paints and stuff. There we go. So maybe one of these days I'll get you on the broadcast as well, Allison. I'd like to see your paintings. I've only seen maybe one or two of them because that's all you've got on your profile. There we go. Okay, so I actually wanted to talk about that. So this might this might no, I did bring that up earlier. So I am not a perfectionist. As a matter of fact, I gave that up shortly after having a talk with God. He told me perfectionism is not realistic to attain, especially for humans. And on top of that, it only breeds self criticism. Excellence breeds doing the best you can with what you have at your disposal and not worrying, because perfectionism breeds worry too. And you want to have fun with your paintings, right? And you know what? I got Holy Spirit involved in a lot of my paintings and even brought him into my process. And when I did that, what it did was it took away all my stress and I started doing it for him instead of for myself. And I even had motivation to be painting almost every day. Give me 1 second. I see another comment popping up. My favorite artists is my daughter. She doesn't know she is an artist. Those are the best kind. When they don't realize they're artists, and then you introduce them to all the different artists or different styles and oils and stuff, and then show them just how much they are. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I have to know what I am working on. If I make too many mistakes, I will put it down. So, um, I used to be thinking that way too. That's called stinking thinking. And when you're painting, there's no room for stinking thinking. You just have fun with it, do the best you can. And I'll give an example for this one. I was almost ready to give up, and then God was like, keep painting. And I was like, okay. So I started just plopping it on real thick right over this area. And I know y'all can't tell it, but I was a little bit frustrated with the back of this mountain right here, this little tree, and this mountain section. And then I started just scraping it out really fast and doing the best I could. And I'm listening to like worship music while I'm doing it, and this is what I do whenever I'm just by myself. And he was like, "Hey, just have fun with it and do the best you can, and think about me instead of thinking about getting it right." So I was like, "Okay." So when I did that, I kind of loosened up. I stopped worrying about, well, I just stopped worrying, period, but stopped thinking about doing everything perfect. And it all started, like, I started seeing different things. I was like, "Ooh, I could add this and this and this." And he's like, "Yes, yes, you can. Now go ahead and do that. And on top of that, this." So, like, for instance, this mountain portion right here, I was like, okay, so I'm just scraping out the basic shapes and putting it backwards that way. So it looks like it's leading down a path. And then I added shadows in here even further to to give the appearance of like distance. Give me 1 second. I listen to classic music while I paint. I believe music ties in with painting. Well, it does inspire, and it does. Yes, it does. I always. Can y'all see me? Let me know if y'all can see me because someone just called me and just messed up the broadcast. Nope, can't see me. Okay. All black. Darn it. Here, give me a second. I'm going to rejoin StreamYard with. At least y'all can hear me. That's awesome. Give me 1 second. I'm going to rejoin StreamYard. I'm going to kick myself out, and then I'm going to rejoin. Hey, I got it. So it just took me leaving the broadcast for like half a second. Awesome. I don't remember what we were talking about. Just a heads up. Oh, actually music. Yes. Awesome. Man, it's only been an hour. You know what? We might actually just get to the painting super early. I'll just come back later today and hit these edges. So if you haven't already, you're more than welcome to go to my art page. I'll put it up. Here we go, facebook.com/. So just go ahead and like and subscribe to that page. I'll post up my YouTube real quick so that y'all can subscribe to that. I would eventually like to get enough people to where I can have a custom URL so that y'all, if y'all wanted to, you could watch on YouTube and not have to go through the trouble of logging in on Facebook. And where is that canvas? Here we go. I'll just use a small one. Nope, that's not it. Yes, I think we'll work on this one. But go ahead and like and subscribe, or like my Facebook page. You're more than welcome to buy art page or any of my art, but you don't have to. If you would like, or actually, if you would not mind, go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's a long one, so I'll just post it up in the links below here shortly. Music and painting. Yes, that's what we were talking about. So go subscribe to my YouTube channel real quick so that we have extra followers, and that way eventually I'll see some of the proceeds, which means the monetization for it, and that'll help me buy supplies and stuff like better cameras instead of having to use my iPhone, web cameras, and even eventually maybe like an iPad or something, or extra cameras that are not Mevos. This is awesome. It's great for. It was a good investment, but it's going to be only used for going to different galleries and studios other than mine, because I can't take my laptop everywhere with me, unfortunately. So without further ado, oh, wait a second. You know what? I can actually start painting that piece. No, he's not on, so I'll wait. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to be painting that little tiny mountain range. The mountain range that Colby actually sent over to me. And if y'all wouldn't mind sharing out the broadcast as well, just to get it fresh, if people want to come on, they can. That would be awesome. Hit the like button. Thank you. Hold up. Music and painting. Yeah. I 100% agree that music ties in with painting. And a lot of times the spirit behind painting will kind of infiltrate like whatever spirit was behind the person who ended up composing the music. Thank you for your teaching. Thanks. I'm going to be on for like another 2 hours, so feel free to hop back in if you want. If you need to go, that's cool. But now I'm actually going to start painting. And if y'all have questions, I will answer them while I'm here. So it's going to still be the Q&A session. Here we go. Now what I'm going to do is going to pull up that little picture that Colby had for me earlier. There we go. That's nice. Wow, that's got a lot of texture and depth. Whew, I'm going to need a big canvas. Give me 1 second. Yeah, that's much bigger than I was expecting it to be. You know what? Colby's in for a treat. He's getting a big canvas. It's awesome. So, those of y'all who are just now tuning in, let me know where you're watching from. Right now, what we're going to be doing is painting like a really, really big sky onto a 16 by 24 canvas. And so about half of the canvas is going to be the sky, maybe a little bit less. It's going to go about right here. Have some mountain ranges up in the middle. This is a picture of Colorado as well that I'm working with, so it's a good time. Okay, let's see. Hello from Arkansas. Nice to meet y'all, or nice to have y'all on. Thanks for dropping in. Let's see. I was in the middle of describing. Oh yeah, that's it. So we've got a nice open sky right here with almost a cloud wall. It was gorgeous. It had like a little puffy cloud right here and then kind of an encapsulating cloud wall right around this way. And then it splits down the middle, like right around here. And then it has snow-capped mountains in the background, really big, majestic ones as well. And then all sorts of pine trees just covering right below them, right at the feet. You can barely see the ones at the feet, but when it gets around to this area, it's got even a building. I'm not sure what it is, maybe a ski lodge of some sort. 18 by 24, that's what I have too. This is a 16 by 20. I do have a couple of 18 by 24s, but they're all finished. They've got paintings. I will eventually get down to this pressing the comments thing. And then down below, there's a lake and even a tiny waterfall, like a man-made waterfall, and it looks like a dam. And then you got some railings over here, so I'll be painting those last. And then the concrete is pretty nice. Let's see if I can't back y'all up for just a little bit so y'all can see everything. All right. Here we go. You know what? I think I'm just going to turn the chair sideways so I don't have to stress my back. Just paint sideways like this. Yes. I'm kind of getting used to painting sideways now just because I want to be able to look to y'all and then look back. And you know what? I could actually even have my laptop right there. So I don't have to twist around. So I think I'm actually going to do that real quick. Excuse me while I set up myself. Get off my foot. Sorry. Get up the cable. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Here, give me 1 second. I will bring that out to you right now. I'll just have this sitting here for now until I get, as a matter of fact, this kind of sketches me out just a wee bit, having it on there without being sitting there. I'll show you right here. This is what I have so far from Friday's painting. I was up all night until like I think 2 painting it. It was a long time, but it was worth it. Oh. That is the painting that I've had so far. Oh, there's even a crow on there. So cool. I'll get to paint the crow. So this is, here, let me take this down and take off all the banners if possible, so that y'all can see everything. There we go. There. Now we can see it all. So this is what it is. I love it. I'm a fellow artist. Perfect. Welcome to the show, fellow artists. Oh, man. So this was actually strictly a palette knife. And as a matter of fact, I only use this. It's a Bob Ross palette knife. It has a real bendy tip, so I kind of like it. But the base of it is real stiff. So that's kind of useful. But I actually went to the store and bought a couple different palette knives too, so I can just really work on fine edging and just plastering on and getting different textures with just using the edges and just tapping them on. That is the point, or that is the technique. I may need to make a request. Well, yeah, if you'd like to. I am hireable. I do commission work, and if you'd like, I can talk to you about pricing afterwards. But if you're talking about strictly while on the broadcast, today's subject has already been picked, so I'm going to be sticking with that. And on another day, we can do a creative day. So like maybe we'll do like a Friday fun day where y'all can just come in, converge, and get to see exactly what, or get to request while you're on the broadcast down in my comment section over here. Yeah, we can do that to where y'all just comment, and this is what I've been wanting to do for a while. I've done it a couple times with my viewers, but not always. Yes, the Misty says those are fun. Yes, they are. I'll actually show y'all here shortly after the broadcast. I'll send a picture or something, unless y'all just want to see my studio. Hey, Sheila, thanks for jumping in. Not for the future. Yeah. All right. But for y'all, for those of y'all who have never done one Mondays, y'all can just jump on to the broadcast and just be like, I want to see a tree here, or I want to see a waterfall in this area, or I want to see mountains in this area with a bird crashing into the water. You know, stuff like that. If you want to see even auroras, I'll paint those in. That's the kind of fun stuff that we do on broadcasts on Friday Fun Days. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna do this. Here we go. Where's my palette knife? There it is. All right. I don't think I've ever actually painted clouds with strictly palette knives, so this is going to be a fun one. But let's see, total, I think I've done maybe 4 Friday Fun Days where people actually jumped in and started saying what they wanted to see, and they turned out really good. I had one was my first one that my roommate currently owns. He ends up, I asked him if he wanted me to paint him a beach scene. He's like, yeah, just make it with like all these warm colors. And I was like, yep, got it. And then when I was almost done with like this, when I was completely done with the sky and the clouds and starting to get onto the mountains, he was like, or the viewers were telling me that it wasn't going to turn into a beach scene and it should be going volcanic. And I was like, okay, well, I'll ask the person who I'm painting it for if I can do it volcanic. And he was like, yeah, do it. I want to see where it's going. Just want to see the end result. So we ended up painting it, and it was awesome. I can show y'all later. It's on my page. It's called I painted it so long ago. I don't remember what it's called, but it's one of my few volcanic scenes. Okay, so yes, auroras. Yes, love auroras. I had a concept where you would pass a particular project and let a different artist add in their technique just to see what the end project would look like. Each artist have their own way of painting. Yep, this is a very fun project. I think I was actually contemplating getting a person down here, but I don't know too many artists here in Florida. Unfortunately, maybe about, I'd say, 6 artists. Did you use that intro? It wasn't working. So I just had to skip it. So I'll give you the password for that, Josh, later, and we can get that set up, or maybe we can get on a phone call after, like, I think it's like 6, or no, it's about 7 o'clock when I'll be free. So anytime after that, we can get working on the intro video. By the way, y'all, any of y'all, if y'all stream or want anything graphic edited or live streaming videos like intro videos or outro videos, Josh is the man to do it. We actually set up mine and it looks incredible. However, because of technical difficulties and possibly compatibility, because my laptop's old, it wouldn't set up on mine. And that's just an easy fix. But when we finished the video, oh man, it looked incredible. I have a vision for my living room with gold and burgundy, golden, brown, and green colors. So like a lush green, almost. So what I kind of see for that is a lot of yellow ochres, which I'm gonna teach y'all real quick. Yeah. Here we go. I'm just gonna have that comment up there for y'all for reference. And yeah, we will fix it, Josh. I'm not worried about it one bit. It's an easy fix. What I kind of envision for that, but it just depends on what you'd like. I kind of see almost the body of not a body of water, but like lush green fields with some slight rolling hills, and they just they have a couple oaks here and there, or maybe even what are they called? Not pines, cedars, I guess, but oak trees. Yes, that sounds good. Yes, and then maybe have even a stream that goes by it, or we could mix the stream. Yes. So I actually just got paid for one of my paintings, and the art or the person was so happy with the painting that they actually overpaid me. And I went and confronted them about it. I was like, "Hey, did you mean to do this?" And I was like, "You paid me like $50 to $75 more than we agreed upon, or maybe it was like 30. I don't know. It was a lot more than we agreed upon." And they're like, "Is that a problem?" I was like, "No, just letting you know. Just wanted you to be aware of that." But they're like, "Yeah, no, I'm very happy with it. I wanted to bless you with it." So I was like, "Okay." Oh man. So what I'm doing right now, y'all, is just stripping it off. My wife loves those ideas, and the streams sound awesome. Yes, I love that too. Streams and water, bodies of water, are my favorite things to paint. And I've actually kind of got this vision of like even fallen trees that are just sticking out of the water, or right next to the, oh goodness, what is it called? Right next to the body of water or streams. There's just all sorts of things you can do. And when you add like little bushes or rocks and stuff, just all those little details just add up and they look really good. All right. If y'all wouldn't mind, share out the broadcast. I can't do it myself right now because for whatever reason, my internet decided to crash again. So I'm using my phone. A brook. Yes. Yes. A brook. That's kind of what I mean. Streams, brooks, small bodies of water. I love small bodies of water. They're awesome. Share it. Yes. Thank you so much. So, we can keep doing a Q&A session until I get this palette cleaned up. So, what kind of things would y'all like to see on future paintings? Like on a Friday fun day. I think I might have to invest in a fan because it's getting kind of toasty in here. Yes, I think a fan would be very good. Oh. Sure. Yes. Thank you so much. Hold up. Can I messenger you pictures of my living room? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know when they're going to come up, but I will. I'll absolutely take a look at them and let me know what the sizes you want to work with are, and I'll let you know the price ranges over Messenger. Or if you have a set, let's see. Hold up. Gotta scrape this off real quick. Yeah, we'll talk about pricing off the broadcast. There are a lot of numbers to crunch at that point. But believe it or not, here, I actually love to show you all this. Blessings to you. Love y'all. Thanks for jumping in. Sure will. Thank you. So I actually want to show y'all something. This makes me really happy. So I'm gonna just tell y'all a story real quick. Whenever I was out yesterday and the live stream wasn't working, so I was gonna show y'all what I was doing, but I never got the chance. So I can actually show y'all right now. Gonna unplug real quick. Gonna take y'all, show y'all around the studio. Stepping over things right now. So what I did is I actually went out and bought a bunch of frames since my stream wasn't working, and I ended up getting around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them yesterday. But over the weekend, I managed to grab 14 others. Have you ever painted a landscape that has mist or fog elements? Yes, I have, actually. I can actually, here, I'm going to have to walk out of my studio to show y'all. Go into my other studio room. Yes, Nori, I am here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, that's not it. Yes, hello, Nori. I see you. Here it is. Goodness. Now let's see if I can flip this thing around. Been struggling with this thing. Nope. Looks like we're just gonna have to camera this. Here we go. This one. Do I paint prophetic art? Yes. Yes, I do. A lot of my work is prophetic art. 95% of it, I'd say. I do prophetic landscapes. Let's see if y'all can see this all right. Yeah. I just got this one frame, so it looks good. You gonna stream with your new camera setup thing that you got? So actually, I'm probably not going to be able to set that up because it doesn't really work as well as I thought it was. The Mevo camera actually has a bunch of flaws. It doesn't work as a, how do I say this? It doesn't work as a webcam. So I can stream with it, but I can't invite guests on. So I'm gonna have to save up a little bit of money and get some more webcams. And then I've got one more that's kind of misty. Here. Sorry, I'm very bad with cameras. Here, let me move this comment. I'm sure that would help a lot. There we go. I believe I may have said it wrong. You pray for the person whom you're painting first. Hold up. I believe I may have said it wrong. You may have. Do you pray for the painting or person? Goodness. Do you pray for the person whom you're painting for first, and let the Holy Spirit? Yes. Yes, I do. That's it. That is one of the things that I do. Yes, I do. And this is the other misty painting I was telling y'all about. It's kind of shiny, so bear with me. I do not have a frame for this one yet, but this is one that was one I painted with Pastor Ren on his stream. Pastor Ren Schiffman. It was a good one. Oh man, I would love to just give y'all a studio tour, but I actually don't have it set up for a tour just yet, and everything's kind of strewn everywhere. Okay. And I do have one more. It's actually pretty big, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to show y'all very well. Which one? Oh, the one that I did with Pastor Ren? Yes. It was a blast painting that one. So I'm going to try to try to get this one flipped around again. No. Here we go. This one is the other Misty painting, but it's more atmospheric than anything. I'm gonna try to get you all the best view I can possible with my limited capabilities of cinematography and my shaky hands. I still have this one. There it is. All right. Remember that one? That was amazing. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. What do you charge for to do a painting? It just depends on the size you want and how long it could take. We could agree on a price, but that's something that we'll have to do over Messenger. If y'all are friends with me on Facebook, then it'll be easy to get in contact with me. That's the best way to do the pricing. Gorgeous. So fancy. StreamYard's fancy. And I am in need of a bigger studio. All right. Oh yeah, I was gonna show you all my my frames. That's what I was gonna show you. I spent 4 hours. Well, no, not 4 hours. It was about 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours trying to dig original paintings and mirrors out of these frames. And these are professional grade frames, like very high quality, very heavy wooden frames, even old rustic ones too. I'm surprised I got them for the prices I did. It was 100% a godsend. I always have difficulty on pricing. I actually have a formula that I could give you that works, and eventually my prices are going to go up, but right now I don't have enough buyers to do that. So let's see. Here we go. I was going to show you all the pictures, all the frames. I'm going to back up real quick. The first one we have is this wooden one over here on the front. Goodness, got to move the opposite way. It's a real nice one. It's solid wood, and it probably weighs about 20-something pounds. And I ended up taking, actually, right there, that picture right there. I know it's kind of hard to see, but that one, I'm going to actually come over here and grab it shortly. Your wording, don't worry about your wording. You're in a place where I don't care. I'm real laid back. It doesn't bug me. Oh. So I'm going to show you the painting. Here we go. Boom. This is one of the paintings that was in the frame. And I bought this for like this and the other painting in the really expensive frames. I bought them both for $30. And these are originals, so someone was vastly underpricing these because whoever did this was actually very skilled. And it's a very old painting too. So whoever did it knew what they were doing, and they're probably worth a lot more than just like $50, which is or $30, which is what I paid for both of them. And then there's this one. Look at the detail in this. Isn't that amazing? I mean, if you get up close, I mean, you can see all the different brush strokes and stuff, but when you're far away, look at all that. Sorry, I'm not the best with the camera. I'm doing my best here. Look at all that detail. Look at that. Yeah, and I got these two paintings for $30, including the frames. And their frames alone are probably worth around 100 and something, maybe even 200 each. You can tell that they're quality because of the weight and because of the style and colors. All right. Now here's the next one. It's kind of a rustic looking one. This one was the one that gave me the most trouble, at least of the smaller ones. The two smaller ones gave me the most trouble, or sorry, they had paintings in them. The two small ones had paintings in them, and this one had glue wrapped all around the insides, and I had to use like a glue go away type chemical or dilutant of some sort. Thank you. I know they're beautiful. And then there's the one that gave me the absolute most trouble of them all, the gold one. This one had a mirror nailed into it. Whoever put it in there did not want it coming out. They had little tiny nails, maybe about like this, and they're, you know, they were like pins trying to pull them out. I had to literally damage the mirror, like the wood inside the mirror, to get these nails out. It's like, please use the screws next time so you can, you know, take them out, put them back in. I spent probably an hour and a half trying to use my multi-tool and pliers to take it out. And this thing weighs probably about 40 pounds without the mirror. The mirror probably made it weigh an extra. No, sorry. This probably weighs about 20 pounds, and the mirror made it weigh probably about 60. So trying to hold that thing up was not a fun time, but it was worth it because, you know, the quality is just absolutely incredible. And it's a 24 by 36. So whatever I put in there, typically when you frame things, the value goes way up because it looks way nicer. It looks classy. And that's, where do I get my frames? I actually looked on Facebook Marketplace. Artist secret. So then there's this last one. Well, actually, there's two of them, but let's keep it straight. And there's this one. It's a golden brown one. I ended up paying $50 for this one, but it's worth about 200, believe it or not. It's from an artist, like a former artist. He's a little older. He's retired. He's also a chiropractor and a singer and a photographer. But he's retiring from his chiropractics, and he's got a bunch of leftovers now. So if you ever want to buy frames that are cheap, go find someone that's trying to make like a garage that has a garage sale or something. Yeah, garage sales, perfect. Thrift shops, exactly. That's exactly right. Garage sales, thrift shops, Facebook Marketplace. You'd be surprised what you can find. You can find all sorts of goodies. So I'm going to move this one out of the way and show you all the last frame that I got. It was on clearance at Hobby Lobby for $50 as well. Oh, and that gold one, I paid $75 for it, but it was worth $300. I was like, so I can't afford $300. And then they were like, I got later last night. I got together with the lady, and she's like, "Don't worry about it. Just pay $75. We just want it gone." I was like, "Bet." I messaged you, JerrodSchonfeld. Awesome. I'll be speaking with you later. I like rustic frames the most. Oh, the rustic frame. Which was that? One of the smaller ones? I'm still getting used to hearing that word rustic. I'm guessing you meant like one of the smaller ones I got right here. Praise God. Yes. Yeah, it was a God thing right there. Then I've got my last frame right here. This one is one that I found at Hobby Lobby for on clearance. It's a $200 frame. Now, because it had a couple chips and notches on it. I don't know if y'all can see them. Yeah, a couple chips and notches on it. Just a few of them here and there, which are completely easy to fix. I mean, you can go in with acrylic paint and just paint right over it, or revarnish it. It takes all of 2 minutes. And then a couple chips here on the sides too, but I might end up using it for myself. We'll see. But it's nothing that you can't fix yourself. I like finding those that they're devaluing them because there's just minor issues wrong that you can fix. Just pay like $5-10 and you can go fix them. Or you can get the materials yourself, which are about $5 or $10, and go and fix them. So be an opportunist. Look for those slightly under what you're looking for if you're an artist and you're concerned with finances. And look at those cheap art that they're trying to post on Facebook or on thrift stores, because a lot of times you'll find little gems hidden around in those like Goodwills or thrift stores, as you said, garage sales, all over the place. It's great. It's wonderful. And you'll find even nice clothes there as well. So just be on the lookout for stuff like that. I'm trying to move all my frames back. These things are heavy as all get at. I'm not a very strong guy, so. Okay, maybe that's a little bit bigger than 24 by 36. That's okay. Yeah, that's a tad bigger, but that's all right. Not sure what I'm going to put in there, but it's going to be nice. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. So y'all having a fun time, yeah? Y'all got to see a miniature tour of the studio, and got to see my frames. Here, I'm going to put y'all back on the tripod. Come on. There we go. All right. Where did I put that? There it is. Here we go. Got all my oil paints ready, minus the blue and crimson. Oh, where'd it go? I love painting. I used to be pretty good in high school. What did you paint with? I want to. And what did you like painting? Everybody likes painting different things for different reasons. Like I like painting water, but I don't know why. I don't actually have a specific reason. I like clouds because I used to stare at the clouds. What do you like painting? Just y'all comment down below what y'all would enjoy painting. You don't even have to paint if you would like to see something painted. Even what would you like to see painted, or what do you like painting if you were to paint? Tell me in the comments down below. Let's talk about that. What mediums would you like to use, if you do? Man, I'm gonna have to get better quality paint. This one's real oily. what's my technique on not using or not wasting too much paint without using water? Well, first off, my technique on painting is very specific to me. I'm actually pretty liberal with paint, unless I'm painting intentionally to be flat. So lately I've been painting with a lot of texture, so I use a lot of paint. And if you want to not use a lot of paint, the technique is to make sure it's thin on your brush when you pick it up. So I'll actually show you. I kind of don't want to waste a little bit of paint, but you know what? It'll be worth it. I like y'all. I'm gonna do it for y'all. Show y'all what techniques are used for what for painting. As a matter of fact, I can make it just thin enough to where I can kind of coat this and show you. So what I like to do is I like to go, y'all already know I go dark to light, and then on top of that, furthest away to closest. But when I'm considering skies, if I'm painting with a brush, which I'll show y'all just a rough example. When you've got your, that's dangerous. When you've got your canvas or whenever you got your palette and you want to paint it thin, you need to pull it down thin and make sure it's thin on your brush so that when you put it on there, it's thin and it's spread out. That's my technique. If you want it thin on the canvas, put it thin on your brush. And you can spread it thin on the palette itself. And that's the technique to use less paint. Or you could use the wet on wet technique, which also does the same thing and it forces it to be spread out. And since you're using oil-based medium on the canvas already, it's going to make it spread out even further. But I like to use dry canvases right now because it's just a phase. I'd like to see a painting of a golden eagle illuminating light almost to shine with glory. That'd be a painting. I could do that. That would be one fantastic painting. Maybe I'll add that to his thing, his picture. This is gonna be Colby Smith's. I'm just gonna have to get this real quick cleaned off. Or you could, here's another technique you could use if you want to keep it thin. I didn't think of this, but you can add just a little bit of paint thinner to your brush or to your paint and make it like an ink-like consistency, and then just put it on real thin that way. Because odorless paint thinner or odorless mineral spirits is pretty much paint thinner. That was to answer your question. Here we go. Thumbs up. Okay, you got it. Awesome. Let's see. I'm gonna try out one of my new brushes. All right. First line of business is to mix up all the blues that we want. So one thing I've noticed in this picture, just by looking at it briefly, is the corners where it's kind of like a smoky picture. It's almost like a misty paint. Oh my goodness. How many palettes have you gone through? 2. Just 2. And that's because they're at my house. And I just didn't feel like going back to the studio or back to my house to get it and bring it to the studio. So just 2. I clean my palettes off almost every single time with like a really big palette knife. If I don't do it before, I do it after or right before the session starts. But on this one, I may have to get a new one here if I can't rip off all the paint here soon. But if it starts to bug me and I can't see the paint that I'm using or trying to mix, then I might consider getting another one too. Any other questions? That was a good question. How many palettes have I gone through? Okay, so I'm going to take some ultramarine blue, mix in a tiny bit of crimson with that. And we're trying to make it as thick as possible, but we're trying to keep it to a semi-blue, so we don't need a whole bunch of crimson. We're just trying to slightly darken this blue. And the cool thing about this, we're pre-mixing right now, pre-mixing the different colors we're seeing on this particular area right here. And I'm going to gradually, I'm actually going to mix a lot of like large globs of paint, large sections of paint. That way I can come back and just brighten each and every one of them with white, so I can lay it out almost to where, okay, this one needs to be this bright, this one needs to be darkest, this one needs to be slightly less dark. So I can just pick it up and tap it on there. So that's one technique that I could recommend y'all if you don't want to waste paint, is just have your paints pre-mixed as well. That's a really helpful technique. There we go. So we just want it slightly less blue than it is. So almost a purple, but not quite. And then we're just going to add some whites to it on multiple places. Come back and stipple it on. And stippling, for those of y'all that are artists, you know that it's just literally dotting it, like using a dot shading technique. It's the same thing. Just like what you would do with pens and ink, that's what a stipple effect is. It's a technique used for shading. It's very highly useful. And I wonder, yep, that's still good to go. So I can just use that on my trees later. Awesome. Sweet. All right, so we're gonna work top to bottom now. And if y'all wouldn't mind, just share out the broadcast one more time. If anybody wants to jump on, they can. If they don't, that's all right. And if we have anybody new watching, just let me know where y'all are watching from. Let me know what y'all's experience with art is, etc., etc. Just make for conversation. Here we go. Now, first line of business. We're just going to hit those tops. So one thing I do sometimes is I'll just have some dark colors on there for reference, and then I'll come back and I'll paint over it, or I'll strip it away, and then gradually paint it in, like with white, until I get the consistency that I want. I'll just keep adding white until it gets the brightness that I want to. And be very moderate with the amount of white you use. Whenever you're trying to go slightly less or slightly brighter, don't use a lot of white. Just use a little bit, like tiniest speck, just to get slightly brighter. Because if you use a lot, well, you're about to have a huge change. All right, and right now we're trying to achieve a slightly less bright than this. And I'm just going to use the corners of these, the edges of them. I got thrown out, just got back in. Well, you didn't miss anything. Just me talking. That's it. I don't know if you saw the frames, but I went and showed off all the frames. So if you want to, you can go back into the comments later or into the broadcast later and see those. I will be recording this and posting it up on Facebook later. And then, actually, no, I'll just post it on YouTube. So one thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put a banner on real quick that shows y'all my YouTube. If y'all wouldn't mind just going and subscribing, this would help me out for monetization or having an extra URL, because it takes a lot of space off of Facebook for me to post all these videos because they're long. There we go. That's about accurate. And then a little bit brighter. So all the palette knife is hold up 1 second. Okay, all the palette knives, all that palette knives do are they're literally just picking up paint and just putting it down. Most of the time, you just tapping it on. And if you want real thick, you just literally take it and just flatten it out if you want it. Or you can graze it and have it real thick on the edge of your knife. Yeah. Just see how it's a glop. Turn it sideways, see it's real thick. And then when you put it on there, that's what it looks like. And you can, if you want, you can do multiple taps, but then it becomes thinner. Hold on. My power went out due to the storm. Wi-Fi is back now. Awesome. And I do workshops, or I'm actually going to start doing workshops as well. I will be doing that here in about, I don't know, maybe a week. Y'all can sign up for them. I'll leave I'll develop a link or something, or maybe an event, and we'll do payments with like Cashapp or something. I'll have to talk to somebody about developing a website for it to make it easier on y'all. That way, I don't know, PayPal can take care of it. We could do just Cash App, but we'll have it like a private stream on, we'll say, maybe a Zoom call or something, so that I can have all of y'all on at once. I think I'm going to limit it to like 10 people, well, 9 people. That way we don't have any interruptions, and I can get to each and every one of y'all individually. So if that's something y'all are interested in, or you know someone that would like that, share the word. I will be putting a post on it here shortly after the broadcast. I'm gonna have to work on that. Let me know if that's something that would interest y'all. That's such pretty simple. So the key with these textures is, if y'all have ever done like graphic designing or seen stuff like gradients, the key to getting a gradient is working with different values on your palette. And what I mean by values is just shades. If you've worked with pencils or pens or anything like that, you know, darkness and light are the two things you're going to work with the most. And changing it up is key. Keeping it one certain color and then gradually changing it. That's a good question. Do you have an idea of what you are painting this time? Yes, I'm actually working off of a photo this time. It's a, I don't know if y'all know Colby Smith, but he was at a conference one day, and it was live, and I just happened to catch it. He actually popped in on the stream today. Well, when he was on the live stream, I was like, "Hey, I can do a painting of that later and send it to you if you want it, if you'd be interested, because that's gorgeous." Yeah, he was over in Colorado, so a big sky scene drops into snow-capped mountains, some pines up at the front, and then a little bit of snow, and then a building right over here that is with a lake right over here as well towards the bottom, and then it drops off into almost miniature waterfall that was man-made with rushing water, and then it goes to a dam. Then you got railings over here as well, and then cement. So I know exactly what I'm painting. I have a reference photo. I can show y'all that after the broadcast, what the reference photo is, if that's something that y'all would like. Oh yeah, if y'all wouldn't mind going to this little channel right here and hitting the subscribe button, that would actually be a huge support for me. It would just make like if I get, or when I get 200 viewers or subscribers, that makes me have a custom URL link, so that it wouldn't be this really long deal right here. It would make it nice and short. I'd be able to make it nice and short. Once I get 1,000 subscribers, then it can start monetizing, and I can start getting, I don't know, proceeds or any sort of monetization that YouTube would get. But right now, they're getting everything, and same with Facebook. Goodness. You know what? I need to go back into that, edit it. I will actually put that right here in the comments so that y'all don't have to type in that obnoxiously long banner. Yoink. There we go. I'll pin it too. Put user in timeout. What? That's a thing? Huh? That's funny. I did not know that was a thing. So I just looked, and when I was trying to put that in the chat, I clicked on myself, and what happened is it said it had this option. When I clicked on myself, it said put user in timeout or block user. I was like, what? I agree with you and Jesus. Name for thousands of subscribers. Yes, in Jesus' name. And one thing that I really wanted for my broadcast is when people come on here, they would be in peace. Just a peaceful time, just a fun time. Because I know a lot of people have stresses from the day, and that's just never fun. Just come home and relax is always the intent. Here we go. So let's take it just a little bit darker. In agreement. Yes. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate all y'all that are in agreement. One of these days, I'm gonna share with y'all one of my end goals is to have like a big castle or something. This might sound far fetched, but I got a big dream because I like kids. Is to have a big castle where kids can come in free and learn to paint from me free of charge. Have hundreds of little easels set up. This will cost me a lot of money, and I will eventually have the funding for it. But to set up a bunch of these easels, a bunch of palettes, paints, all of the materials necessary for painting. Have a big gigantor of a screen at the front of the studio, to where they can come look, see what's going on in my palette and my easels and whatnot. And they can paint right along with me, kind of like a Bob Ross experience, except they're in the same room, they're enjoying the same thing, and it's going to be a good old time. And I can actually come down off of my off of the stage or wherever I am, and I can physically show them what I'm trying to do on their canvas if they want to, and have multiple. I literally just had this thought pop in my head, but have multiple other teachers of the style come in and show them what I'm talking about. And then also have all sorts of like tennis courts, volleyball courts, maybe even petting zoos, saltwater aquarium with all manners of sharks and stuff. It'd be a good old time for kids. Let's drop it down real thick and dark right here. A beautiful dream, helping others achieve their dreams and goals. That's amazing. That is, it's just a good way to share my passion and love others while doing it. Like, I like seeing lives changed. It's just something that God's really, ever since I've been in my situation right now, the current circumstances have allowed me to paint and stream. And I didn't start streaming until this year. I've always thought about doing it, but I never did. But because of me being forced out of some of my living arrangements, I didn't have anything other to do except paint and stream. and read the Bible and stuff. And I want to encourage y'all as well. If you have a dream, start taking the steps, even if it's like little tiny steps, one at a time. Start taking all those steps necessary to get you rolling on it. Don't just give up on it. Like, I didn't imagine that I would ever have like StreamYard and a live stream set up to where I can actually read y'all's comments. And I always imagined, oh, that would be like $500 a month. Come to find out, it was like 20. Lord pushed you out of my cup. Yes, he did. That's putting it lightly. Did he do that? Oh goodness. I wish I could share the extent of the details, but that is not the time yet to share my whole story. I will eventually write a book on it. I want to encourage those of y'all that are not married and those of y'all that are married and are struggling to never give up. Don't give up on that other person that you know that God has for you. And if you're worried about that man or woman of God that you've got that you know is going to be for you eventually, I'd just say don't worry about it. Just focus on you, because you can't control the other person. You can only control your relationship with you and your relationship with God and how you spend time with Him. Like, one of the things I'm trying to get at is when I was first removed from my current living situation, I was distraught, and I struggled with panic attacks and stuff, and it was very rough on me, physically hard on my body. And the enemy had come in, and panic attacks come from fear. And fear is not of the Lord. And he made that abundantly clear within that time. He's like, hey, did I give you that? And I was like, no. He's like, you're right. So why are you agreeing with it? And I was like, well, I guess I have no answer for that. He's like, okay, then stop agreeing with it and let go of it. Give it to me. Break it off. And every time you feel it come on, just be like, nope, I don't receive you anymore. And you have no legal right to be here, because I am a child of God. I am no longer a slave to fear. And that's what panic attacks are. It's witchcraft and fear. At one point, I was in the mental hospital because of all the fear throughout the years of my time in the military. It just overwhelmed me, and I couldn't handle it. And I was on the verge of suicide. I just couldn't take it anymore, or at least so I thought. And God used that because I'd been. Here, I'll just share a little tidbit. I had been butting heads with my wife, and we've been fighting almost every single day. Even when I gave up my entire life to God or to Jesus recently, you know, he was with me throughout the entire process, but I couldn't take it, and I thought suicide was the answer, because those spirits of suicide just kept coming in and hammering me. Because, you know, even when I had calmed down and stopped yelling myself, the enemy was working through my wife and trying to divide us, because they know how well we would work together for God and His purposes and our plans, or His plans for our life. When we work together, we'd be unstoppable. That's the same with the body of church, or with the body of church and the body of Christ. When we work together, when we unite, we stand. When we're divided, we crash and burn, we fall. And we were divided, me and my wife. We had just been at each other for 6 straight months. She's telling me that she didn't love me anymore and she wanted a divorce. And I was like, you know what? I can't take this anymore. And I told a mentor of mine I wanted to off myself, and he's like, don't do that. Go get help. Go to the mental hospital. Get treated, get diagnosed, get some benefits. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. I went to the hospital. I could immediately feel all the attacks of the enemy, that they were trying to make me go quite literally insane there. I could feel them trying to impose that on me. So I tried to leave ASAP, but it didn't work. I got forced to stay there for at least a week and a half, but God used that opportunity. I used that opportunity to get closer to God, and He used it for me to touch others and to truly love people. I have no idea how to love people. I was a Christian for like 20 years, something like that. Had no idea how to love people, and He's like, here are all sorts of Satanists and people that are going crazy and under attack, but I love them and I want them. So I want you to treat them like that. And I started reading the Bible every day, in James even, and different verses, and like Matthew and John, that showed that Jesus loved all the Pharisees, or not the Pharisees. He does love the Pharisees, but He loved the lost and the hurting and the orphans and the sinners. And I was like, why am I not doing this? I've been living a hypocritical life almost my entire life. So I started doing that myself and started loving them and started showing them that I cared about them. And I stopped judging them because they were doing rituals and stuff, for like satanic rituals, trying to summon demons or trying to draw satanic markings all over the place and to spread it. And even some of the courses, I'm not going to go into detail on those, but some of the things that took place in there was just straight up evil. Well, when we got out, or when I was in there, and it was like a weekend, I had several people coming up to me, and they were all dealing with panic attacks or thinking they were going crazy. And it just took sitting with them and showing them that they were loved. And over like a period of like even a couple of days, you could see physically a difference when you showed them love, because perfect love casts out fear, and all those panic attacks started disappearing the more love that I would show people. Like even a friend of mine, I'm not going to say her name, but she's actually in a better state of mind now than I've ever seen her, and she was in bad shape when I was in the hospital. It's incredible the transformation that's taken place of just a little bit of love going a long ways. And now she's painting. Apparently, God wanted her to start painting. She was inspired to paint. It was awesome. Okay, let's start using bigger gloves. Well, when I was in there's another guy. I'm not going to tell you who he is. I'm going to keep that confidential. But he was suicidal, and he was an artist, and he was able to physically draw out what the demon that he was being tormented by looked like. And he's like, this is the creature that's been tormenting me at night in my sleep and talking to me. I'm like, man, that's a demon. He's like, no, I don't believe in demons. I was like, well, what's tormenting you then? You've got no other explanation. That's a demon. And I could physically feel it on the second to last day I was there. He was not able to sleep, and this thing was making him. Um, I could actually, it was actually speaking through him. It was manifesting when I was right next to him, and I felt God's goodness come on down and His fire come down on my back when I started to tell him that Jesus loved him. And I knew he was Catholic, but he didn't believe in Jesus, which made no sense. And he started telling me um, that he wanted help. And I was like, okay, you want me to pray for you? And I could hear the demons speaking through him and saying, no. I was like, why? And then he would say in a different voice, I don't know. I don't know. But when I went over to hug him, I was like, Jesus loves you regardless of whether you let me pray for you or not. And He wants you to know that that's never going to change. And about the same time I said that, the two ladies who were on either side, they were also inpatients in the hospital as well. They started bawling because the goodness of God was just wrecking shop there. It was just, He was really pouring out His Spirit there, showing how much He cared for the people, despite the position they were in, despite the condition. It was intense. Like I wanted to cry when this was taking place. Tears were filling up because I could feel God's emotions coming pouring out of me because of how much He loves them. So if you ever feel like you're not loved by God, that is not true. That's as far from the truth as you can get, and you're listening to the wrong voice. Don't ever listen to those voices that tell you otherwise. Does He want you to keep sinning and messing up? No. He wants you to repent. He wants you to turn around and not do it again. But sorry, it was a very intense time. Mm-hmm. It really was. It still is. And I've just had more encounters with Him. The more I spend time with Him, the more He shows me. And there's no limit except what you put on it. If you limit your time with Him, He'll limit what He shows with you. But if you agree and seek His face more, when you agree and start seeking His face more, and it even says in the Bible, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you. When you do that, when you start saying, start seeking after Him, start spending time with Him by yourself, you'd be surprised. Even when you're working, you'd be surprised if you just dedicate yourself to Him in every aspect of your life and say, my life is no longer my own. I'm doing everything for you now. When you do that, He just brings out everything. Everything will fall out into place. Everything that, even things that you didn't realize you wanted, but you kind of had a private thought about. Like, I'll give an example in my life. This is recent. God had blessed me with a friend. I've been blessed with a few of them, a few good friends. But one was a fisherman, and I always wanted to catch a shark that was bigger than me, that weighed maybe twice my size, and catch it and reel it up on shore without anybody taking the rod from me. And I know it's expensive for all the materials for sharks, but I actually befriended a person, and he was a shark fisherman. I befriended him, and he would go out and shark fish, and I'd just come hang out with him, buy him drinks, like waters and Gatorades and food, bring him down wherever I came out. He invited me out. Really good friend of mine named Ryan. He's a shark fisherman. Well, whenever I went down, I would just bring him stuff. I would go out, help him out with whatever he needed. I would even bring him bait sometimes. And yeah, I think at one point I even helped him move when someone had to cancel on him, which is no issue for me because like it was during COVID-19 business, and it's like, well, I got nothing better to do. Let's go help him move. Just show him a little bit of love. And when I did that, he was incredibly grateful. And I had no idea he was going to follow through with this, but he went and hired a professional shark fisherman for himself. That he didn't get a shark, so the next time he went, it was free. And that just happened to be the day that I was coming out to hang out with him again. And one of the desires of my heart was to catch a gigantor shark that's way bigger than me, and bring it in and take pictures with it, and even keep like either the jaws or the dorsal fin on it, because I like that kind of stuff. Some people don't agree with it. It's oh well, that's their prerogative. That's my opinion. I like it, but I bought a grill for him that day because he got laid off, and he was pretty distraught about it. And he couldn't afford to go get a grill or barbecue. I just happened to have a bunch of like Wagyu steaks, so I was like, you know what, I'll buy you this stuff. Don't worry about it. He's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, man, you can do the same for me. So I bought all the stuff necessary for it, and he even fought me on it. He's like, no, you don't have to do that. And I was like, I want to. Let me do it. And sure enough, I did. I brought it all down, and then by the time I got there, I was like, you know what? I don't even want to keep this thing because I would only use it when I'm around him. So I was like, I'll just give it to him. So I gave it to him, and apparently that really touched his heart and moved him, and he really loved it. Like it was a $30 grill, and I had a couple $30 steaks, or $20 steaks, I guess they were, maybe 30. I don't know. Gave him the steaks and all the other food that came along with it, and he was incredibly moved. By the end of the night, he ended up getting hooked on an 8-foot bull shark, which was awesome. He was on that thing for almost, I'd like to say, an hour. It was awesome. He reeled it in like a champ. And then an hour later, another shark starts screaming. And I didn't know this. Well, actually, I'll explain that part afterwards. But the second shark that came on, and this is when the professional came down. The second time he came down, or the second time there was a shark, he was like, hey, Jared, get on it. I was like, okay. You sure? He was like, yeah. I was like, all right. So I jumped on it. I reeled in a 7-foot bull shark that weighed probably around 300 pounds. It was one of the craziest experiences I had to date. And then afterwards, the second I pulled it in, he pulls me aside and he's like, hey, man, I was just so grateful that you've done all these things for me. You've been such a good friend. I talked to the guy. I didn't tell you this before, but I talked to the guy. And the first time I asked him if he would let you onto a shark, he said no. Then after I caught my shark, it was the second time, I asked him if he would put you on a shark, and I had been talking to this guy at this point for a few hours, and he's like, yeah, yeah. I think he's pretty cool. I'll let him on Shark. And I'd been talking to him about all my experiences with God and stuff. And at this point, he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll let him on a Shark." So that kind of wrecked my shop. That really touched my heart. I ended up going over into the sand in the dark and just started crying to myself because that really touched my heart. I was like, "Dude, you didn't have to do that." And he's like, "I know. I wanted to." And it just goes to show when you. Sorry, this is. I know I'm going a little bit of everywhere, but whenever you sow into people and bless people, and then really put God first, and make it a point to be a blessing to others, or and sow into people, it does come around. Now, my intentions, I didn't want anything from him. Just try to be a good friend to him. That's all. That's all it was. And God had blessed the desire of my heart because I was following Him, and I was being generous with time and with other people, and gave generously. There's, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but whenever you are generous to people and radically generous, it brings in a wealth that is not necessarily a money wealth, but a wealth of like friendship and connection, or even like God will bless you for it. When you're radically generous, He's radically generous to you. And when you're seeking God first, He knows what the desire of your heart is, even if you're not even asking for it, and He will grant it. Like even things that you don't think that you want or didn't realize that you wanted, and just kind of put on the back burner. He'll be like, "Nope, that's my son, that's my daughter. I know what she wants." And she's been doing such a good job at loving others and loving me and following me. I'm gonna bless her socks off for that, or bless his socks off for that. Either way. Can I post my YouTube channel again? Absolutely. I'll go do that right now. Oh wait, I may not do it in my comment section. Sweet. There we go. I wonder if I could pin this. Nope. No, but I can show it. There we go. Oh yeah, I need that reference photo. Urgh. That's an interesting technique with the paint. I just started painting 2 weeks ago after I got a prophetic word, went out and bought oil paint and just started painting. Yes, that's awesome. Did you look into the brushes that you needed to buy? Because that can actually make a difference. And this is oil paint. Yes, this is also a palette knife. I went online and actually, this was a gift from a friend, and this is my favorite knife now. It's a Bob Ross knife, but a friend bought this as a gift for me. This is a stippling technique. It's basically you mix it on your palette and pick it up in little little glops like this, just at the edge of your knife. You can see that. And then you just touch and pull it, or just tap it on there. Either way, it's a kind of slow technique, at least when you have a following that's watching and conversing. But if you're by yourself, it's speeded up. It's pretty. It's still pretty slow. Who am I kidding? There's a lot of detail that goes into it too. But if you'd like, I can actually describe to you what brushes you might need to get or might want to try out. I recommend using hog bristle brushes or natural bristle brushes because they're very stiff and they come back into place really nicely. Excuse me. Here we go. I'll just use a fan brush as an example. When you bend it over like this, yeah, they just pop right back into place. And you can do the same thing with synthetic artist brushes. One thing I don't like doing is using a lot of synthetic brushes because I like the bristles being real stiff. Like I'll give it another example. This is a bristle brush too, but um, it's all. Oh, sorry, it's not a bristle brush. This is a synthetic one, but it's an artist synthetic brush. It's very stiff too. I recommend using bristle brushes over synthetics because they're a little bit more stiff and they'll maintain their form when you've got paint on them. They don't last as long as synthetics, but they give a nicer effect. Okay, let's get you on there. Okay, so there's a little bit more blue. So if you're going to use brushes, you'll get a little bit less texture, but you can get a lot of nice effects. If you're using a palette knife, you'll get a lot of texture. And you'll get a very specific textury, thick effect. Unless you're just, I'll give an example. Unless you're just scraping it on there and dragging it like that, and then it's real thin. And you can always go over and correct it. That's the cool thing. You can strip it off and then just tap it over. It's a really easy fix. It may not be a fast fix, but it's an easy one. And I always like having it in layers, like nice thick layers. Awesome. I'm glad that makes sense. Oh, man. I love this. So how do you like oil painting? Let's see, it's Jennifer, right? Jennifer Fields. Awesome. Ooh, fun fact. My last name is Schonfeld, but in German that means beautiful fields. So that's a thing. Random. My brain kind of went on bunny trail. So just answer the question before if you want. Thought I would share that tidbit. And right now, I'm kind of going over all the white spots. Sometimes you'll put a little glop of paint on, and it'll leave a little white spot on it as well. Or it'll show the canvas behind it. I love oil paints. Something about the oil and anointing of the Lord. I don't know. It just spoke to me. Okay. Yeah. I love oil painting too. It's a lot of fun. It's the best, in my opinion. It's the easiest to work with for long periods of time. And if you're patient, it makes it even better because you don't have to worry about it drying super fast. Acrylics will dry really fast. Now, watercolor, it's almost like using a pencil except with water if you've got the right stuff. If you're using the brushes, it just depends on the tools you're using. It can be like drawing with charcoal or graphite, just using water. Ooh, there's a little bit of white up there. It is right about here. Let me just put it on there. So if y'all wouldn't mind, go ahead and share out the broadcast one more time. And you can call by name or start shouting out names of people that you think would enjoy doing this or that you think would be interested in getting the painting, like buying a painting, or interested in just watching and learning. And I will be offering up, like I said earlier in the show, I will be offering lessons and workshops online for those who are interested. I will send a link here the next week of the class. This is just kind of like, since y'all are on the studio or on the broadcast, I'm giving y'all the first heads up about it before everybody else finds out about it. And I might do an early bird special. We'll see. Just write this down. Just write down, let's see, Bob Ross. That'll be the early bird special code. Because I don't have a specific website yet that can do everything. I will be working out of Cashapp until I can actually get myself a PayPal or some sort of account to get this up and running. Yes, I am interested in that. All right. That would be awesome. Oh, one thing I highly, highly encourage is after you're done with every brush stroke, or, well, if you're just starting out, whenever you're done with a brush stroke, if you're not using that same exact color to put it down somewhere, like say for instance, you've got the same color here and here and here, if you're not doing it in those specific areas with those three colors, I recommend going back, washing off your brush. Because what oils do is when they dry completely, they get rock solid, and then no amount of soaking them in these odorless paint thinners or paint removers, it won't do anything because they become like rocks. Even if, like, if you leave it for like we'll say 3 days, they're going to be like rocks. I do that too. I've done that when I first started out, and it costed me like $30. I learned my lesson after that. I was like, nope, these brushes are too expensive to do that. So after every stroke, like, yes, perfect example. After every stroke, wash off that brush, unless you're using the same color in multiple spots. Yes, I found that out. All right, let's start working out here. Here, I'll give y'all the link real quick again for YouTube. Nope, come on. Just in case y'all haven't already. And if anybody doesn't have my Facebook link, I'll go ahead and put that up in the banner as well. If you would like, you can go ahead and get notifications anytime I go live on YouTube or Facebook. By using, I think it's facebook.com/schonfeldjerrod.com or schonfeldjerrodart.com. Yeah, I'll just put it in the banner real quick. Where is it? So let's see, Jennifer. I have a question for you. What subjects do you enjoy painting? Or do you do like me, where you just paint whatever's on your mind? You never know what exactly is coming up. You just paint whatever you see in your mind. And sometimes whatever you see on canvas. One thing that I do is whenever I'm painting, I do whatever. I'll go with like certain shapes on the canvas. If I'm like just, we'll say I've got a thin layer of paint on right here, and I've got a shape on there. Sometimes I'll go with the shape and just highlight around it and make it look like something. I have been painting. What I've been painting are the drama and visions he gives me. That's awesome. Speaking of dreams and visions, I had a dream about. Actually, I'm not going to share that one. I'll share another one though. I had a dream about this gigantor painting that I did that was maybe 20 feet long and I think 6 or 7 feet tall. And it was of snow and pink, purple, and black rocks. It was unlike anything I've ever seen. Let me take that banner down. Y'all don't need to see that. there have been some crazy, crazy dreams that I painted a few from my, maybe one or two from my dreams, but not many. But that is a subject. As a matter of fact, there's a friend of mine. His name's Lucas Levine. I think you and him would get along because he paints paintings out of his dreams and visions too. I'm gonna actually have him on the broadcast here soon. So I don't know when he's gonna pop on, but or I don't know when I'll have him on, but here in the next couple weeks I'll get him on, and we'll talk about his style of art and what he likes to do. And it's very similar to what you're describing, dreams and visions. He does. He's got a couple paintings of like prophets from Texas and lampstands. Oh man, then he painted one painting of the cross and like light coming from it and the silhouette of the cross. It was like it was pulling at me. I was like, dude, I can't stop looking at that. That's really powerful. Whatever you just did, it's pretty awesome. So I want to encourage you to keep on the route that you're going. Okay, so there's a couple here and there. Okay, and then more towards the blue side too. So we're just gonna grab a little bit of white and blue. Like that's a little too blue. Oh, it'll be a good old time. And I'll eventually have Mark Redner on here as well. He's a prophetic artist. I had Darren Canning on about, I think it was about 2 days ago, or maybe it was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. That was a good old time. I didn't realize how much he was passionate about art. I knew he painted a lot, but apparently when I invited him onto the studio, that kind of inspired him to get back into the studio regularly and start painting again. I was like, that's awesome. I'm glad I could inspire a fellow artist to start painting more. That just tickles my heart, if you will. Makes me chuckle. Incredible what God will do if you just obey. And he told me to invite Darren on one time, and I didn't listen the first time. I was like, nah, surely he's busy. I didn't realize it was God telling me, do it. And when I went to his class, he twice actually, two of his classes. I think the second time, yeah, it was the second time, and the first time he prophesied over me. But the third time, like right after, I actually went into one of his broadcasts just at random, and he had another word for me. And he even mentioned in the broadcast, I feel like I should talk to him afterwards. I feel like I've gotten to know him through social media. I was like, we haven't really talked, but we can definitely get to know each other. And we ended up talking via text for like a week or two, and tried to schedule. Actually, once he knew I was an artist, he started nerding out. And I was like, oh yeah, here we go. It's time to nerd out on artists. And we started talking about it. And I was like, I was gonna ask you if you wanted to come onto my broadcast and just paint with me for fun. and talk about art. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm all down to do that. Just let me know the time." So I gave him the time. We ended up not being able to make that particular time. So the week after, which was last time, we actually managed to paint together, and it was worth it. It was. I actually made a new friend. It was a lot of fun. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have painted with him. I actually was inspired myself to paint a little bit more quickly, but I'm not going to ever stop taking my time completely. Like I love painting slow and getting all sorts of details. Yes, that's very nice. Yes, I agree. Obedience is key. I 100% stand on that. Mm-hmm. When you obey him, you'd be surprised what can come of that. What good. Like ever since, I don't know if y'all ever heard, but they're starting to become more and more, or there have been a lot of false accounts on very popular people on social media. Like Darren's got got accounts that were fraudulent impersonators. Mark Redner had them. Um, my pastors at my church had them. Still have them. So I let Mark Redner know about it because, um, I found out that this dude was asking me for obnoxious amounts of money. I'm like, hey, video call me because unless it's really you, I ain't even gonna consider doing something like that. That's when the Holy Spirit was like, red flag, not a real person. And sure enough, I tested the Spirit afterwards. I was like, I did. I asked if they were from God, like if they confessed that Jesus Christ was in the flesh. And at that point, they were like, they blocked me because I sent afterwards. I was like, if you don't answer this truthfully, I will know. And right when I sent that, it showed that they blocked me. So I texted Mark Redner on his ministry page. I was like, hey, dude, I don't know if you've noticed, but this dude or this page is doing this, this, and this, and impersonating you. I don't know if you've got a hacked account or had been dealing with falsified accounts, but this is going on. Well, that allowed me, or actually, God took advantage of that situation, and that uh, me and Mark actually became friends and started talking. And I'm actually going to have him on the broadcast here soon too. Have him paint with me. I found out from Mark that his mom was a professional artist too. That's really cool. Like, how does that happen? Just divine connections when you listen and obey. Uh, let's put a little bit more blue in this one. There we go. So you can mix it on the canvas. I want y'all to notice this. You can mix oils on the canvas and paint by just doing a little tap or a little pull. I wonder how much of this you can actually see. Like you can see everything. Awesome. see, what time is it? 7. It's almost time for me to get off. All right, so I will be finishing this in private. I'll record it for everyone so that y'all can see it, and then I'll try to put it in a time lapse as well. So let me know what I can do better with these broadcasts. Seriously, just shoot me like a message or something on what y'all would like to see in the broadcasts, and I do take into consideration these things. I like to make them as fun and as nice as possible, high quality. Like I'm working on getting myself a microphone that attaches to my phone, so that y'all can hear me a little bit better. Because I know that y'all have complained that the quality is a little janky. So let me know what I can do better with the broadcast or with lighting, or if y'all are having any issues with that. Give me ideas, and I'll try to go with them. All right. So in the meantime, I appreciate y'all coming on and showing support for this long. Love y'all. Bless y'all, and have a great night. And I'll see y'all tomorrow at 6. I'm gonna be on at 6, and then I might or might not go with Pastor Ren. We'll see if he invites me on. We usually do like a prophecy and paint every Wednesday or Friday. Just depends on what he wants to do. Sometimes I'll come on, sometimes not. But weeknights at 6 p.m. That's 6 p.m. Central Time Zone or 7 p.m. Eastern. That's when I typically start streaming. So if y'all want to come on and join me, come on down. And have a blessed night. Bye. And broadcast.